Oh my God. I am not bringing up the
What's up, brother?
Nils just texted me and asked me.
Hey guys, so within the last hour, about 15 FBI agents came rushing down the street and came to the laundry yesterday. They are now inside on the laundry. Oh yeah, Adam. They say that they are on. They are on court order as part of the laundry house. Again, we have been here about the last hour. FBI I can't record because I'm on the phone. Is that you guys?
I think it's us.
Okay. Got it, okay. Are you the SNN girl? SNN from forever ago?
Yeah.
Chrissy, right?
Yeah.
I'm Erica. I was at ABC 7.
Oh my gosh, we're
Yeah.
throwback.
I know, because you were in Harrisburg, right?
Yeah. So what were you?
Okay, so Dennis Owens is my best friend's uncle, and I just saw him the other day, and he was asking me if I ever seen him. Because he said you were in Tampa, and I was like,
I got him to Tampa 2 years ago.
oh my God,
Yeah.
well, congrats, I'm glad you're doing well.
We're here with me.
I'm with him, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know, I might.
What you said?
I might.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, exciting.
want to copy this?
Okay. We'll tell him. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then your number.
I'm about to go hot.
But you know what? I'm not proud of anymore.
Cold mud on my feet feels kind of good. It's kind of refreshing. Give it up like the shoes. There's always one. I mean, I leave my car on all the time,
Right?
but
And I think last time I was in it, which was 9:30, 9:75 of the tanks. I think I'm good.
did we see them? What did we see them come out with? And then one ID in that trunk.
What if they were like, we're doing like house? I saw them. So they brought a Jansport back, bright blue. I don't know who the hell that is.
That's all I saw.
I did bring a video of it. They were probably rolling on me at that point.
I got a shot of it.
That big case that had like shit written all over it. Did you see that? It said something. I don't know, a bunch of acronyms for something.
It went in or out?
In.
Okay.
Oh, look, they're gonna make the tape flare.
Was the FBI just on the button? Really, Corey, it's just those law enforcement officers that are patrolling the outside of the house. That officer that you see out front, they're just pacing back and forth on the phone. But really, all of the activity right now related to this search is happening inside. I saw FBI agents that entered going through the back gate. They entered through the front door. At one point, they escorted Brian Laundrie's parents outside of the home, had them in a van parked outside for about 5 minutes, and then the parents were escorted back inside of the house. That happened just around 10 in the morning. And it was only 15 minutes prior that the scene here went from 0 to 100 very quickly. That's when all of the unmarked vehicles with lights and the FBI agents, they flocked over to this property. They rushed to the home. They're executing a court-authorized search warrant. We've been watching closely, waiting to see what they bring outside of the home. All we've seen so far is different items going inside. I saw one officer bring a light blue backpack inside of the home, and the only other item that we saw brought in was a case of some sort. It had different acronyms on it. We were trying to look closely to see what it could have been carrying, but we weren't able to get that information. But we're keeping a close eye on the scene here. It's a growing number of people. I've been watching the home, and I look behind me, and all of a sudden it's a dozen more people every time I look back. And it's not just media, it's neighbors. They're standing at their driveways, by their garage,
they have their phones out. They're hoping to catch a glimpse of what's going on here and hopefully find out what everyone wants to know. Where is Brian Laundrie, and does he know anything related to Gabby Petito? The crime scene tape was a little closer to the house when it was first brought up. We've been here all night and there was no crime scene tape at first, and it was when the FBI agents got here that they put it up, and then a couple minutes later they pushed it back a little further, so we're standing behind that crime scene tape here across the street. And I see the neighbors here. The emotions are high. A lot of emotional people. I mean, these are people who, the neighbors, they've known the Laundrie family. They tell me that they've interacted with them. They've waved to them. They've had sometimes a little more in-depth conversations. They've seen Gabby and they've seen Brian outside working on that van that's now a big part of this investigation. And I know something that we talked about a couple minutes ago was that helicopter, and I want to clarify that we believe that chopper flying above us is with a media outlet. But we do know that crews are searching high and low for information related to the disappearance of Brian Laundrie. His family says that they last saw him on Tuesday, and they found his car at the Carlton Reserve a couple days later. They said they found it on Wednesday and picked it up on Thursday, according to the family attorney. And then it was on Friday that the family contacted law enforcement that the last time they saw their son was when he was leaving this home. We also confirmed that he left the home carrying a backpack, but we don't know what else he had with him. And so tomorrow will be 1 week since anyone has seen him. And a lot of people want to know where he is and what does he know that could provide answers. It was actually a week ago when I spoke with the neighbor who lives next door to the Laundrie family. It was in that moment that I realized this case is beyond just a girl missing. When I spoke with the neighbor next door, I showed him a picture of Gabby, and I said, "Do you know who this girl is?" And at this point, there was no media out here. There was no law enforcement. And he said, "Yeah, that's the girl that lives next door." And I said, "She's missing." And that's when I saw a light bulb go off in his head, because he said, "I saw their van get towed from their driveway over the weekend." This was last weekend, September 11th, which was also the day that her parents reported her missing out of New York. That's where her family lives. And all of a sudden, this case ended up spiraling. That's when we learned that Northport PD discovered the van here in Northport. And then, as we just mentioned, we learned soon after that his parents last saw him on Tuesday. But those neighbors, they've had interactions with Gabby and Brian and the Laundries. And they are just as shocked to know that the girl that they just saw here 2 months ago before they left for their trip, that now she is likely deceased, as crews found a body matching Gabby's description. And so tensions are high and hearts are heavy at this point. There's no photog coming.
I gotta be able to get one to the hospital. Might go run and see if I can maybe get a cop to grab my water.
And turn off the car. If I'm hot, I'll just leave it up.
Did you not turn off the car? Wait, you literally have 3 quarters of the tanks.
Okay.
see shot.
Go to weather. Well, they're nonstop. What is it?
WFLA. So, helicopter. Just be careful with my water in this year. It doesn't seal anymore.
Every 2 weeks I have to try to find a lava. I always find it. I always do. Look down at one of our
Do you want this one?
I feel the breeze.
There is a breeze. You ready to get here? Here.
Okay, hang on a second, guys. And then the others are
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Go up, go up.
Well, Therese, all eyes are on that front door right now. We're waiting to see if any FBI agents or even if Brian Laundrie's family, his parents, come out of those doors. Right now you can see there's no one on the lawn at this point with the exception of one law enforcement officer to the side of the property. Everyone else is inside. We saw agents go inside with a backpack in one other case, but we haven't seen any sort of evidence come outside of the home. It was around 9:45, a little over an hour and a half ago, where the scene here started to unfold. It was then when all of the unmarked vehicles with their lights, they pulled up. The FBI agents, they rushed out of their vehicles. They surrounded the home very quickly, the front, the back, and within minutes we saw Brian Laundrie's parents get escorted out of the home. They were in that van that's parked out front. They were in there for about 5 minutes, and then they were escorted back into the home by FBI agents. As far as the neighborhood goes, this entire street is filled with vehicles, mostly media vehicles, but a lot of law enforcement as well, and a lot of neighbors. They've been watching the scene unfold here, not just today, but ever since they learned of Gabby's disappearance and once the news hit Florida here on Monday. And I know we were talking a little bit about the Northport community. I've lived here. I've been a resident of Northport, and I can tell you firsthand how the community comes together here. And it's chilling when you see all those actions. There were multiple candlelight vigils held here Friday and Saturday praying for Gabby's safe return. Many of those community members who I've spoke with since learning about human remains found that matched Gabby's description, as soon as that news came to light, a lot of the emotions switched from hope to, I guess, disappointment, but they're also holding on to hope for getting information, hoping that Brian Laundrie, her fiance who is missing, can provide some of those details. I know that we were talking to some of the neighbors here, and the one next door who I spoke with last week, when I showed them Gabby's photo, at that time she was the next door neighbor. That was how he knew of her. She lived with Brian Laundrie's family for more than a year here in Northport. And at that time, when he saw the photo, he knew exactly who she was. But when you would ask anyone else in the community, when you showed them Gabby's photo, they didn't know who she was last Monday. And today, you show anyone on the street Gabby's photo, and they know exactly who she is, and they've been following this case very closely. So it makes sense as to why there's dozens of media outlets here, as to why there's dozens of neighbors outside of their home trying to get some information and get a glimpse into this investigation. And it's understandable why there's so many law enforcement officers here. This is a very high-profile case that has not only rocked Southwest Florida, it hasn't only rocked the tight-knit community of Northport, but it's rocked our entire nation, especially as the search has spread from not only here in Florida, but now with those connections in Wyoming. No, Corey, I've been looking closely to see if anything has been brought now. The only thing that's been in and out of the home at the very beginning, around 10 a.m., were the FBI agents themselves. And as I mentioned, Brian Laundrie's parents for that brief encounter where they were in the van for about 5 minutes. But definitely a lot of activity going on inside of that home. As I mentioned, I did notice some FBI agents go in through the side. At one point, we were able to get a brief glimpse into the backyard as they had the gate open, but once they entered the home, they shut the gate very quickly. So at this point, it's a lot of people anxious to find out what they find in there, what the law enforcement knows about that they were able to get that search warrant approved, so they were able to execute it. So a lot of questions and a lot of people here hoping that we can get some answers.
Yeah, and I like that. Just like being with the
You need some shade?
No, I think
You
you
could
just
use
have
this
to
for
throw
now.
it way down.
Oh, thank you.
Think nice.
Every person, everything you do.
For now.
And
Stipulation.
also, it's extremely muddy, so if you have boots or other not boot shoes,
Weakness. I came to Fort Myers with one of the anchors to do storm coverage.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I see that.
Oh, there's a Brad here. What?
It's currently charging in my car. Cool. Where'd you park it?
I saw it, but I was like, it's too hot.
I keep in my car.
I believe.
Just hang on. We can do that.
You're going to see it in my car.
You want to take me with you? You'll be alright.
Street is.
Yeah. There's this. There's ruts like
hey guys, within
three
the last
feet.
hour, FBI
Yeah, I got it.
when you come down here, make sure you bring your thing on the recording. You know that FBI is outside Now, we are still waiting to hear about where Brian was moving. There's nothing about that. All we know is that about an hour ago, FBI
Over there?
this house and you can go inside.
I would love some water.
Me and Erica and Eric.
Yeah, I would ask. I mean, I that's really important. We don't have a back there.
Wait, you brought that?
No, that's his.
Oh, that's good. Genius. We need that.
Just put it up. Hey, John, it's Justin. Allison just wanted me to check. Danielle, you want this? This is mine.
For now, fine.
Oh, yeah. We found a way to get that. So we're helping them out. But, yeah, I just want to check. Thank you. Thank you. You like my MacGyver issue?
When Honda CRV starts, Y22 has a license plate.
Is that
Blocking the roadway before it gets towed.
I'll take it.
Take it.
You want? Hey.
I mean, my car's right there and it's charging. You want to check?
Really, the people who are pulling up to the scene are media and then curious neighbors. We see a couple of law enforcement agents kind of moving around, but it doesn't seem that there's too many more FBI or law enforcement officers arriving to the scene. We see the same few officers patrolling the property. They're being very strict about this police tape that lines not just in front of the Laundrie home, but it's in front of a couple neighbors' homes as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is about 5 properties wide. It's blocking that entire area. And at one point, the tape fell down a little bit, and an officer rushed over here to make sure that no one was crossing this line. So a very serious situation that's taking place here in Northport. So we see those few officers on the property and a couple surrounding the home, but a lot of that activity is taking place right now inside the Laundrie family home. We saw at least a dozen FBI agents go inside the house. We haven't seen any come out at least for an hour. We saw them at one point come out with Brian Laundrie's parents for a couple minutes. They entered a van, that one that's parked right out on the lawn, and then that was for about 5 minutes, and then at that time they escorted them back inside of the home. And so it's a growing number of people out here, Northport. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this area, this is central south of Northport, near the intersection of Sumter Boulevard and Price Boulevard. And this is about 10 minutes, about 3.5 miles away from the Carlton Reserve and the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. That's where Northport police, FBI agents, and partnering agencies have spent the entire weekend looking for evidence, combing through the mud and the brush, trying to find information related to Brian Laundrie's disappearance. They were out there all day Saturday until the sunset. They were out there all day yesterday, confirmed with us Sunday evening that they didn't find anything of substance, and we were expecting them to be out there again today. And then we learned that they believe that they went through the entire area and they weren't, there wasn't a need to go back out there today as part of their investigation. They said that they combed through all the areas hoping to get information, but at this point their search of the park and reserve is on hold. That doesn't mean that it won't resume. And I asked Northport PD why they're not going out there today, what changed since we learned of the search ending last night, and the spokesperson response was simply nothing had changed. And you know, even though that search at the park is on hold at this point, it definitely does not mean the search for Brian Laundrie is paused or delayed by any sort. If anything, it has amplified over the last couple of hours. It was about 2 hours ago that I saw the unmarked vehicles with their lights speed down this road. They were just flocking toward the house, and you knew something was up very quickly, even though they didn't have any sirens, but you saw the lights going on those vehicles and you knew something was up. And everyone had that same sense of urgency. It wasn't just the media, it was also the neighbors who perked up at that moment and ran toward the Laundrie family property knowing something was about to happen. And within minutes was when we learned that they were executing that search warrant that was approved by a court as well. And so we're keeping a very close eye on the property over here. In Northport, we are waiting to see if not just any agents come outside, but if they bring any evidence outside. We haven't seen any type of belongings leave the home, but we did see at one point an agent go inside with a turquoise, a light blue backpack. We also saw an agent go inside with a large case of some sort. It had some abbreviations on it, but unfortunately, since we're across the street and we have a couple cars blocking our view, we weren't able to get a close look of what that case was carrying. I do see neighbors from all over. They're keeping a close eye on the investigation here, and definitely a growing number of media, not just from here in Southwest Florida. I see reporters from Tampa, from Miami, New York, and national outlets here, which is understandable because this story has gripped the nation over the last week.
Thank you. That was great stuff. I'm so glad. Yeah, you did really good. Oh, good. How cute. You make friends everywhere you go. Nice to meet you too. Hey guys, good luck. Yeah. Sorry. The latest update on Gabby Petito.
I'm gonna talk to Evan.
The latest update on Gabby Petito is just devastating. Last night,
You guys aren't live right now, are you?
I wonder if we can expense your TV.
Right?
These people love
Erica, can you try and talk to somebody? I'm gonna change batteries.
I'm gonna text them.
Sorry. I'm just gonna do it real quick. It'll take no time. What a big dog. Great.
really funny to read.
want to keep on going? Text messages only, please.
Yeah, email would be fine. Okay, so I can just do the FBI form later.
Well, for recording it, you're pointing out what happened. Brian wants his dad wants to have his Mustang behind him. Look out the back inside. Agents showed up not long after that. That's Diana. Laundrie carried people out of the house for about an hour. They stayed inside. Then they go back inside. Back inside.
I have to walk a whole lot.
Today, after FDA,
I'm going live every like 5 minutes.
Okay, they want me to ask you, but I don't know like what they're asking. Yeah, I have my laptop.
It's stricken. Oh, sorry, dear.
Okay.
I gave it to Evan and Taylor.
So here's what I'll talk about. I'll talk about how the scene here picked up very quickly. Let me write this down. I'll talk about how I saw the agents rush to the home.
I'm listening.
Hold on, I'm listening. Okay, so to the home, I'll talk about how I saw the cops here. I saw how I saw the in and out of the parents, and then I'll talk about the neighbors also being out here, and I'll talk about how
Oh, they want me to talk about them first.
Okay.
Because I got the sound, so that's what they want me to like.
Okay,
talk to.
cool.
So keep that out.
Did you talk to the guy who saw the van get towed?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then I'll talk about how this case like blew up, and I'll just say, you know, a week ago when he would show someone Gabby's picture, you know, one person said it's a neighbor, you know, other people would have had no idea who she was, but now, you know, everyone knows who Gabby is, and they want to know where's Brian.
Yeah.
That work?
Yeah. I'll talk about.
And then we want to talk about like kind of the chaos out here, like the chaos out here.
Is this top of the day? Okay, so Zeppeli doesn't want either of you guys in the trap.
Yeah.
So you just talk.
Hey, look.
Oh my God,
Good.
I don't know if that was the best.
You want to? You want to hand me something?
So we're not going to be in front of them when we're talking.
No, not at all. They, at one point, I was like, oh, start on me in the pan, and they like yelled at me to get out the shot.
Hello.
FBI agents warned Brian earlier today around 10 a.m.
See Brad?
What's Brad doing?
I thought you wanted to get water.
Okay.
You'll have to see behind
I was just curious. I mean, soon you being here means that I get to get out of here soon, I know.
Yeah. How's your live view battery?
Half decent. I have another one charging in that car right there.
Oh, okay. So that's why they were telling you. Okay, that makes sense.
Because this is the one Evan brought, so I filled that one already.
Zelda in the car.
Yeah. They have one down there. You would want to grab the light.
You have tape?
I got electrical tape, yeah.
In the van? Where? Come in the car in the van.
Yeah, you see the wing car literally right next to the car.
Wow. How did you get that from the spot?
I got here at midnight.
Okay. What? Wow.
He's out here living, dog.
Maybe I'll put my hair in a ponytail.
Shitload of FBI guys on there. They found her body, right?
FBI agents formed Brian Laundrie's home earlier today around 10 a.m. FBI says they have an active search.
Corey, it's quiet, but it's a lot of people just holding their breath. They're waiting for some activity. They know it's coming. The question is just when. When are we going to see the FBI agents walk out of those front doors or from the side? When are they going to see those agents or officers walk out with evidence bags, those brown bags, or different pieces of information that could help provide answers? You mentioned it's hot, but at this point, everyone is just trying to remain calm. They know the information is coming, and every day we know that this isn't going to wrap up anytime soon. And as Rich Colco just referenced, he confirmed that for us. He says this is going to be a long day, depending on what they're looking for inside and how much and how quickly they're able to find it. This scene has been going on here, very active, for about 2 hours now. It was around 9:45 that many of us were sitting, waiting around, waiting to see what our days were going to be like, getting ready to talk to some neighbors, trying to get information confirmed by law enforcement. And then all of a sudden, the scene picked up here and became very active very quickly. It was around 9:45 when the FBI agents, they rolled up here in their unmarked SUVs, different vehicles with their lights on. They got out of their vehicles very quickly and they flooded the home here in Northport. A couple minutes after that, around 10 o'clock, was when we saw the FBI agents escort Brian Laundrie's parents outside the front door. They were in that unmarked minivan that's parked out front for about 5 minutes, and then it was very quickly that they were escorted back inside the home. And all eyes were on the parents. But ever since that activity and ever since we saw a bulk of the agents go inside, there hasn't been much going on. So everyone here is keeping a very close eye, not waiting to see what comes out of it and waiting for some much needed answers.
Yeah, you know, I've been walking around since I've been here probably for the past 45 minutes, talking to different neighbors that I see out here, because right now you guys are looking at this home that's guarded by law enforcement, but what you can't see is all the media lining the road. You know, probably more than 40 media outlets out here, and then you have the neighbors that are sitting on their lawn chairs just watching the scene grow bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, I talked to the next door neighbor of the Laundrie home, and he was telling me he was out here just cutting his grass this morning, and all of a sudden he saw, you know, all the FBI agents swarm the house. You know, we actually talked to him, Erica talked to him last week when he was saying, you know, oh, I knew this girl, Gabby Petito. I saw her working on her van with her fiance, Brian, but never thought anything of it. And then all of a sudden he saw the van get reported her missing. And so I talked to him today just to catch up. You know, he's watching this all unfold right next to his home. He said it's a very bizarre scene. His wife is pretty freaked out about the whole thing, but he's just trying to remain calm, just trying to get some answers just like everybody else is. So here's what he had to say. Okay. Okay.
Okay, let me know if you can hear me. Yes, I can. Okay.
Good job. Both of you. Good job.
I am still here, yeah.
We're here. I was so sad. They didn't have the sound, but that's the whole reason why that is because of the sound.
They didn't.
I am here if you can hear me. Daisy, she says she's lost up.
What is she?
She's talking to you. Can you? She's checking. Can you still see us? I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. I was talking. I don't think you. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Just tell me where to switch the battery. Okay.
I'm like, I'm bloody and sweaty.
Oh my God.
What do we do?
Oh, is this from you? Thank you.
Better.
Oh, you take it.
Put his camera down.
I saw like the governor thinking of here somewhere. I was like, the last thing we need is him to come like Southwest Florida. Like, stay away today.
Do a mic check real quick. Mic check 3, 2, 1. Mic check 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
And Danielle, at 12:30, I'm relieving Joseph with the live view.
Okay.
Oh, there goes the neighborhood.
Well, there's one charging in there.
Well, also I'll have you bring my gear, and I want to set up because I like the view of the.
I'm not taking that car. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Prefer not to because I'm talking with my hands. The audio. I can. Is it crackling?
Well, Therese, I know you can't see much outside of the home right now. There's not too much activity out here, but inside of those doors is where it's all taking place. We saw more than a dozen of FBI agents and different law enforcement officers go inside that home. Also inside, Brian Laundrie's parents. It was just about 15 minutes after the law enforcement agents flocked to this area that we saw Laundrie's parents get escorted outside of the home. They were brought into that van that's parked out front on the grass. They were in there for about 5 minutes, and then they were escorted back into the home. Now, outside of the house right now, we see that police tape is blocking off the properties, or excuse me, the street in front of about 5 different properties, making sure that no one walks in front of the home, since this investigation is very active. Over here, we can see a lot of media out here, but also a lot of neighbors. It's a proof about how quickly this case has grown and the media attention that has been given to it, and the attention from different people in our community. About a week ago, when I was out here, I would show someone Gabby's photo. One neighbor said, yeah, this is the girl who lives next door. But anyone else, when you would show them Gabby Petito's photo, they didn't know who she was. And now, about 18 hours after we learned that remains were found matching the description of Gabby Petito, everyone knows who she is. This case has been gripping the nation and definitely been difficult to grasp for everyone here in the tight-knit Northport community.
Yeah, you know, as you can imagine, there's a little bit of frustration, a little bit of uneasiness, because you look outside your door and you see all these FBI agents swarming your neighbor's house. You see media just lining the street. You know, they can't go in, they can't really leave. I know we spoke with him last week when all this first started happening, and he was kind of like, yeah, you know, I saw Gabby and Brian working on their van before they even left on their trip. But when I spoke with him today, it was just very, you know, somber. He was like, I can't believe that this is what's happening now, because if you look back to where he was a week ago, thinking about his neighbors, you know, working on that van, and then now seeing all of this activity, it's all very, very crazy. You know, slowly throughout the days, it's just grown more and more and more activity here. I was here on Thursday and on Friday. You know, Friday we started to see a lot more neighbors come here to protest, to kind of make their voices heard, to say, hey, Brian, come out and tell us where Gabby is. Then little did we know that at that time that Brian was actually not inside the home, just his parents. And so, you know, a lot of different developments happening right now. We're working to give you guys everything we can. I've been walking around outside here just talking to neighbors, and that next door neighbor, here's what he had to say.
Just let me know how long. I don't know how long.
Oh, you want it? Well, I'm going to get the laptop.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. And then what can I just... I don't know. You're the one.
Yeah, you're the dripping guy?
Yeah, just a few. Talk to me. Sorry, Jessica. That's okay.
Yeah, something definitely went wrong somewhere, but at this time we obviously don't know what went wrong, where it went wrong. So those are all of the pieces of information that we are trying to get right now, as well as the law enforcement. You know, we have all of this activity happening outside, but it's been pretty quiet right now. I did speak with another neighbor, or another man who actually lives in Venice. He said he's come out to this home about 3 or 5 times in the past week. You know, he doesn't know the Laundries, he doesn't know Gabby, but he has a daughter, so it just meant a lot to him to come out here and show his support for Gabby. And so I think that kind of encompasses how everyone is feeling right now. You know, her story, this whole story has captivated the entire country. And so a lot of people are just wondering where she is and where he is at this point. Guys?
I think police set up.
Yeah.
John.
All right.
Probably still want to keep this one, right? While you done?
Can I have one of those?
Yeah.
Anyway, watch the front.
Hey, Brad.
I'm gonna get it from the car.
Well, I think it's the best idea to just leave that car there.
Okay, but I'm taking the light.
Hello. Yeah, I was trying to get the hardwire mic out because there's too many, we didn't really have time to do a mic check, and so there's too many stations here to use the wireless, so I was trying to the process of getting the hardwire mic out, get out time to do the audio, because there's too many other stations here to use the wireless.
No,
Yeah, there was some interference, so I was trying to get out the hardwire mic. So I could hear the interference on my
got it.
Hey, sorry. Thanks, guys. You're awesome.
Yeah. I wanted to go that way.
I brought one when Danielle was talking to.
Okay. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see this one.
You guys know John?
No, but now I do, and I
How are you?
Yeah,
Nice
yeah.
to see you. Erica, and
I've seen your van a bunch in the Wink parking lot.
when I make Lois drive it to work,
Exactly.
she gets so angry too. It's awesome.
Here, do you want me to just hand this to you? Just so you can?
Yeah.
My phone's going crazy. They probably want the live stream. Yeah. All right.
Grace, it's almost 12:30. I got pissed so bad.
At least you can do it a little more nonchalantly than me.
Yeah, I still wouldn't. How am I supposed to do it? Knock on one of these neighbor doors, man?
I'll give you $5 and I can pee in your toilet.
Right. I mean, I think ABC paid those people like $200 to park in there.
That's what you're saying. We need to tell Brad that.
Yeah, well, all the spots are taken now.
Well, I'm saying a bathroom.
What is he more worried about that part of that? Yeah, he gives a shit about that. Assumably they're going to come to you again soon.
I don't know.
Maybe they just won't. Just fly you to heaven. I like trying to get the fuck out of here. Do you want to maybe go ask him if he can see those coolers? I can go up there too.
Yeah.
Just run back there.
Over there. He wants me to go over there.
Yeah, but then
Do you think it's better if you here
I don't
or
know.
over there?
He said he has a good shot of the door, so I would just go look at it.
Oh. What? What happened? Oh, yeah. Well, there's really the hardwire mic out. So I was trying to hardwire it and get that out for her time. So, I mean,
What do you
He
think?
wants me to go there at 12:30. Oh, I forgot to ask about the live video.
Well, if you could just bring it with you.
I'm gonna have to charge my phone at some point. We need like a generator.
We got one running that thing.
Where did Sebastian go?
He's fucking rummaging around in my
He should
car.
not be setting up here. We have 2 cameras here. He's gonna be with me looking for neighbors. He's an idiot. They
Why?
want me going live again after the parade.
Okay. I don't know why we both need to go live when we're at the same thing. Because, you know, they're always so packaged. Come on. I think it's they kind of set their expectations. Dude, Michael Hudak, come on. Stop calling me. What do these people think I'm doing?
He's been texting the shit out of me, too.
I literally sent an email to work that said, don't call me.
Do they want you doing your pursuit? It's hard to think.
Say that again?
Erica, then Danielle.
Okay. Yes.
Dude, what was up with that girl screaming? That girl screaming in her live shot.
I think you're so hot. You're so busy.
But like, if they can't hear you in the camera, it's probably the connection. Screaming is not gonna help.
I have 2 chairs in my truck.
I've been kind of following along best I can.
Well, Trace, I had a front row seat to all of it. I was sitting in my car when all of a sudden I saw unmarked vehicles, about a dozen of them, drive toward the Laundrie home. They had their lights going, no sirens, so you couldn't hear anything out of the ordinary, but everyone who was in this vicinity, when they looked up, they realized that something was about to go down. Within seconds, many people, including myself, rushed out of our vehicles as we saw all those different FBI agents flock onto the Laundrie family property. We saw those FBI agents flood into the house. There were some who also entered the home from around back. I saw them enter the side gate. And at one point, about 15 minutes into their search just before 10 a.m., I saw the Brian Laundrie's parents get escorted out of the home by FBI agents. They were in that van that's out front for about 5 minutes, and then they were escorted back into the home by those FBI agents. Now, within the last 5 minutes or so, we did see some activity here other than the law enforcement agents just patrolling the area. We saw a couple of police officers carry white styrofoam coolers onto the front lanai there. It's unclear what was in those coolers, but we saw about 3 of them that were placed onto the covered area in front of the front door. But I personally, despite keeping a close eye on the front door, haven't seen it open up. So it's unclear why they were brought there, but we're trying to find out exactly what's in those and their purpose. So even though you don't see too much activity on the front lawn at this point, there's a lot of activity surrounding this police tape where we're standing and where neighbors are watching, and there's a lot of activity inside of that home. We're waiting for FBI agents to come out with any sort of information, any sort of evidence. We saw not just those coolers go in, but a short time ago we also saw a light blue backpack being carried in by a law enforcement officer, as well as a case which Rich Colco referenced different electronic devices. So right now it's dozens and dozens of people out here hoping to get some information, not just media, but neighbors as well.
Yeah, you know, right now you guys are looking at the house and all you can see is the law enforcement in there. But if you guys can't really tell, but we have neighbors out here on their lawn chairs. We have them outside just staring at what's going on, as well as the media here. You know, I'm going to have our cameraman Joseph pan over to the right over here. So to the right, directly to the right of the home, I spoke with the homeowner right there, the neighbor, and he was telling me about what he was doing when he saw all of this go by, you know, a front row seat. Here's, take a look. Okay, I was just told that we actually don't have the sound bite there. But basically what he told me was that he was just mowing his grass when all of a sudden these cars and cars of FBI agents came in through. You know, this whole week he's been watching everything unfold. He, you know, went from thinking, oh, there's this missing girl, I saw her and her boyfriend working on their van, to, oh my goodness, there was so much attention on this case. You know, he's a little frustrated at first. Now he's just very curious, just like everybody else is. So, you know, we'll continue to try and get some more sound from neighbors out here. I'm sure they all have a lot to say.
Cool. What are we doing in the car? True. Did you find it? It's in my backpack somewhere. See it? Okay. That's all good. I can grab it when I leave. I think 12:30.
This is in there when you're charging. I have a twisted cable. It says like 72% right now.
Really?
Yeah, she's almost dead. Yeah.
And the inverter was on? No. Take you again?
I imagine I'm going to be tapping you out since you've been here since early.
Oh, yeah. Well, both of you guys are essentially. After 12:30, I'm done. I don't know where. If you want to come, well, I would just wait. Just wait until I start moving. I'm holding on to this, Eric. Not your pants are full.
You know who's going to rain?
It might, yeah.
Did it rain earlier?
It hasn't rained yet, no. But I honestly wouldn't doubt if it does. I would plan accordingly.
Thank you. Okay. How are you gonna get out?
That car's staying. One of you guys are probably going to drive that car back whenever that happens. I gotta try and figure that shit out with Brad. There's nothing to take.
It's probably evidence, because not gonna lie, I'm really stupid. And I got the car stuck in the ditch that one time.
Do you think you're in that situation again?
Yeah, and I did it right in front of Ted.
Fair.
So hopefully my dad out. So then I'll probably have to take this one.
Brad right there. Well, we got 10 minutes and then I'm done here, so. You could do that now. And then when I leave. Should be. Yeah. Unless you guys can run power from somebody.
Okay, do you need Danielle or just me? Okay. Okay, I know they're coming back to me. I don't know if they're going to Danielle.
Just leave. Just focus on you.
I'm just coming behind you. I'm going behind you, Eric.
Thank you.
See?
Oh, great. The car is on. Thanks.
They just have to like their photographs. Yeah.
That's how I remember.
Can you not see the card?
Well, Corey, it went from 0 to 100 real quick here when those FBI agents flocked here in about a dozen unmarked vehicles. We just saw someone walk out of the home. You can see them walking toward us in the driveway. But otherwise, we haven't seen too much activity in the last 2 hours or so. It was very active here as all the FBI agents entered the home. And that was just before 10 o'clock. But otherwise, we haven't seen too much going on. We saw a backpack, a case, and some styrofoam coolers enter the home. Has been those different items and people entering the home. Not too many people exiting, with the exception of when the FBI agents walked in and out with Brian Laundrie's parents for a brief bit of time when their search started just before 10.
Come out here, sit down.
Are you clear?
I think, yeah. 30 seconds in the show. I think you're good.
But you don't care. Erica, this is yours.
Yeah, I mean, if we can use it, because you have yours. So, what's Sebastian using? So do we need this? Okay, so maybe we don't need this. Do you want me to put it back?
No. Where's the light?
I didn't know Sebastian brought here.
Yeah, but I'm not with that car. I figured it stayed here.
Yeah.
You say he's second tired. Hey, where?
At one, they had me in for sound. They had me in for a package Okay. That's why I was confused.
Can't remember when I've had this much fun.
That's why I was like, I don't know how I can get sound if I'm standing. Okay, good. Thank you.
Trades live use.
All right, I think I'm gonna hang up from IFB.
That's a good plan. I think we're out of the show, aren't we?
Yeah, but are we?
I mean, I'm just gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave the shot up.
All right, I'm gonna call
So,
Mackie and
yeah,
just
then switch.
touch base with him.
Good idea.
All right, is this clear?
Yeah. I mean, we're still up, but.
Okay. And then let's see. So in terms of priority, who's your local people that we need to take care of?
Locals.
Yeah.
Young lady squatting in the blonde lady here. She is CBS affiliate in San Antonio.
Let me write it down that way I don't. Because we only have time for a few questions, so I want to make sure we get your.
You want to get the locals?
Whoever chief needs.
Rather than nationals? Or?
Well, we'll do a little bit of both.
Okay.
But, you know, I want Chief to feel like he's talking to the locals, too.
Okay. And she missed the one we had yesterday.
What's her name?
Vanessa Croy.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Oh, my gosh. Great to see you.
Good. Mike's in to give you discuss.
Oh, sure.
Oh, that's by the point. Then you go around
light, so you get him not back with
Sorry.
What do you think? What's our strategy?
You mean for the light?
Yeah. You want to get him in the sun or? He goes out there.
Well, if we saw
Thing is, they're going to try to kick us out really quick. So we kind of want to get it. Is that cool? Stuff down. Or, you know what we could do is use his shoulder, just leave it there. You guys can both go out there and just go ninja style there. And then, so that way we kind of, even if like you're breaking down or something, he can
Oh, your life?
yeah. Break down, I'm going to be coupled out of here. And if that happens, and your life
Always an inconvenience. My goodness.
Seriously. That's actually pretty cool.
I like it.
As of yesterday, we're still about 12,000 items under. So, again, we are like...
You got your...
Once again, like I said, the first comment was the next 2 minutes, so we are just looking at it now. As of yesterday, there were still about 12,000 people down underneath the international bridge. Like I said, there will be an update right now. That's not the situation. Starting yesterday, we started to have flights to fly on the migrants that they're working but we have
Their flag's bigger than ours. Yeah. You need to have 50. Just one of them. Look at that. Look how big it is. Oh, that's true. Oh, that's true. That is very true. They do love the flag. Because isn't it like you get beat if you like discriminate or something?
I don't know about that, but you should see like the ones in Mexico City, man, by like.
Oh, they have like the main plaza.
Yeah, the main plaza.
Yeah.
Like in Zocalo.
Yeah, it's like huge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice looking plaza. I like it.
Yeah.
It's very aesthetic.
Yeah, it's a beautiful plaza.
Like, why'd you build the city here? It's like, well, we saw a golden eagle eating a snake on a cactus. Like, prophecy. Yeah, the prophecy. That's why we built it here. All right. Like, what about you guys? Like, well, we just sailed across the ocean and just landed. No prophecy, just Plymouth Rock.
Once again, for those of you joining in, we are live here in Del Rio, Texas, where in a few minutes, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is coming in to give a press conference.